Looking at us from the outside, you would have thought we had it all figured out. My mom, Uriel, always looked put together and in charge. Coleman, her husband, was smooth and likable. And me? I was just the quiet daughter who came back home. But behind our front door, things got messy. The man who was supposed to be my stepfather turned into something I never expected. I did not plan on having feelings for him. I did not set out to hurt my mother. But once we crossed that line, there was no way to undo it. This is how my whole world fell apart. This is how I became the bad guy in my own home. Hey everyone! Welcome back to Kelly Infidelity Stories. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. To everyone who keeps coming back, I appreciate you. Now, let us get into it. Everyone used to say we were the ideal family. There was me, my mom Uriel, and Coleman, her good-looking husband with a strong jawline and the kind of charm that could win over anyone. We looked like we belonged on a magazine cover. Nobody knew how much of it was an act. Nobody knew how hard I had to fake my smile every time we took pictures for her social media posts or holiday gatherings. People never notice the problems until everything falls apart. Uriel got married to Coleman when I was 17 years old. I was still trying to deal with losing my dad. The emptiness he left behind still hung over our house. Then Coleman showed up, confident and polished, sliding into our lives like he belonged there. I could not stand how easily he fit in. I could not stand when he called me kiddo and acted like he deserved credit for being nice to me. But what really got to me was watching my mother glow around him in a way she never did with my father. She laughed more often, put more effort into how she looked, and smiled way too easily. By the time I turned 21 and came back home after finishing college, I was no longer a kid. I had grown into myself, had strong opinions, and was not afraid to speak my mind. Uriel did not like that one bit. We argued all the time about what I wore, when I went to sleep, and who I dated. She thought I was out of control. I thought she was too strict. Coleman always played the role of peacemaker between us. "You remind me so much of your mom," he said to me once after she walked off from another fight. "Strong-willed and passionate. That is not a bad thing, just tough to deal with sometimes." I noticed how his eyes stayed on me a little too long when he said that. At first, I thought I was making things up in my head. A look that lasted a beat too long. A comment that felt a little too personal. But it kept happening over and over. Small stuff. Nice things said in passing. Invitations to hang out and chat after Uriel went to sleep. He noticed when I got a new haircut. He complimented the way I made breakfast. It was never obvious, but it was definitely there. One evening, Uriel was stuck at work late for some big product launch at her company. I stayed up watching a suspense movie in the living room. Coleman walked in wearing sweatpants and a fitted shirt that showed off his build like it was made just for him. He sat down next to me without asking, our legs almost touching. "I always knew you had good taste in movies," he said, reaching into my bowl of popcorn. I laughed. "Do not act like you enjoy these kinds of films. You are more of a romantic comedy type." He leaned back, looking relaxed and at ease. "There is more to me than you know." The air between us felt heavy, charged with something neither of us said out loud. My heart started beating faster, and it was not because of the movie. I could feel the warmth coming off his body. I could hear his slow breathing. I hated how much it was getting to me. At one point, I stood up to get something to drink. As I walked by, he said, "You have really changed, Chelsea. Seeing you now is so different." That was when I knew for sure I was not imagining anything. I kept telling myself it was nothing. Just a nice thing to say. A slip. But something inside me buzzed all night long. Coleman was trouble and I knew it. The next morning, I came downstairs wearing a thin tank top with nothing underneath, just to see how he would react. Uriel was still sleeping. It was just the two of us in the kitchen. He looked. I saw him do it. He did not say a word, but the heat in his eyes said everything. I should have felt bad about it. Instead, I felt in control. Uriel came down later in her usual cloud of perfume and high heels, kissing everyone quickly, and not even noticing how Coleman kept glancing my way from the coffee machine. She missed it completely. Or maybe she just chose not to see it. Weeks went by like that. Little games. Building tension. I could sense the shift happening between us, like the moment right before a storm breaks loose. I did not know exactly what I wanted. I just knew I liked being noticed. I liked being chosen. Even if the one choosing me was the man I was never supposed to want. One afternoon, I caught him staring at me from inside the house. I was lying by the pool in a black bikini. Through the glass doors, I could see him standing there with a drink in his hand, watching me. I did not look away. When I flipped over on the lounge chair, I reached back and slowly untied my top strings. I did it on purpose. I did not need to hear his footsteps to know he had come outside. "You should be careful, Chelsea," he said in a low voice that was hard to read. "Someone might get the wrong idea." I looked up over my sunglasses. "Who says it is the wrong idea?" He did not answer, but he did not leave either. That was the real beginning. Not the words or the glances, but that moment in the sunlight, barely dressed and completely unbothered, facing the one man who should have been off limits. Something between us had shifted, and I did not want to go back. Not even for her. It did not take long before we stopped holding back. Coleman and I fell into this pattern that neither of us spoke about, but both of us felt. Every touch meant something. Every word, no matter how casual, hinted at what was really going on. We became actors putting on a show for each other while the woman we were both betraying moved through the house without a clue. Uriel was so sure of herself. Busy mornings, packed schedules, important meetings. She lived her life like nothing could shake her. She had no idea what was brewing right under her own roof. At first, it was just contact. His hand brushing my back as he walked past. Our fingers touching when we reached for the same thing at the same time. It lasted too long to be an accident, but was too careful to be noticed. I wanted those moments more than I wanted to admit. The first time it really happened, it was late, just after midnight. Uriel had left town for a work event over the weekend. Coleman and I were alone in the house. The quiet between us felt alive, electric. We were both standing in the kitchen. I had just poured myself a glass of wine. When I turned around, he was already there. Close. Too close. His voice was barely above a whisper. "You have no idea what you do to me, do you?" I did not answer. I just looked at him, testing him. Then he kissed me. It was quick at first, intense, like all the control he had been holding onto finally broke. My glass almost slipped from my hand as he pulled me close, his hands on my waist, my back pressed against the counter. I let him. I wanted it. I had never felt more wanted in my life. We did not make it to a bedroom that night. The kitchen was enough. Later, I lay in my room staring at the ceiling, my heart still pounding. I should have felt guilty. I did not. I felt electric. Powerful. I had taken something that was not mine and claimed it anyway. That weekend changed everything. When Uriel came home, tired but smiling from her trip, I could barely meet her eyes. Not because I felt bad, but because now I had a secret she would never know. Something real. Something raw. Coleman acted like nothing had happened.
He was smooth like that.
Steady. He still kissed her cheek.
Still asked about her day.
But when our eyes met across the room, there was a fire there that had not existed before. We got better at hiding it. Quiet conversations when Uriel was in the shower. Stolen kisses in the garage before I drove off. He started texting me using code hidden in normal messages. "You left your notebook in the living room." That meant he was thinking about the night before. "Tell your mom dinner was great." That meant I looked amazing in what I was wearing. It was reckless. We both knew it, and yet neither of us could stop. One night, he pulled me into the guest bathroom and locked the door behind us. Uriel was just downstairs on a video call with her board members. My heart was pounding in my ears as he lifted me onto the sink. "I should not want you this much," he whispered, kissing my neck. "But I do. Every single second." "Then do not stop," I whispered back, pulling him closer. It was crazy. Addictive. A high I never wanted to come down from. But the real danger was not just getting caught. It was how he made me feel. He was not just someone I was sneaking around with. He was someone who listened, who paid attention, who made me feel like I mattered in ways my mother never did. "She does not really see you," I told him once while we sat in his car in the driveway, hidden by the dark. He did not respond. He just held my hand and stared ahead. That made it easier to justify what we were doing. I painted Uriel as cold and distant, too caught up in her career to notice her own husband drifting away. I knew it was not completely fair, but it made me feel like less of a villain in my own story. I started dressing differently around the house.
Tighter clothes.
Shorter shorts. The kind of things that made Coleman look twice. I saw Uriel frown a few times, but she never said anything. Maybe she thought I was just going through a phase. Or maybe she just did not care enough to ask. I wanted her to notice. I wanted something from her. Jealousy. Suspicion. Anything. But she never gave me that. And it made me resent her even more. Coleman was not just some guy.
He was mine.
Even if I could never say it out loud. Even if I had to share him in public and pretend he was nothing more than my mother's husband. I did not know where any of this was heading. I did not care. I was living moment to moment. And every moment felt like a thrill. The kind that makes your stomach flip and your heart race. But even in the quiet hours, I felt the edge getting closer. The danger was not just about being caught. The danger was what would happen after. And deep down, I knew secrets like ours do not stay buried forever. There is a certain rush that comes with playing dangerous games. But eventually, you realize the fire is spreading and you cannot put it out. It was not one moment that exposed us. It was a slow fall. A thread pulled one too many times. The excitement that once fueled me now felt like a weight on my chest. But even then, I could not walk away. Coleman and I had gotten careless. That is what happens when you feel untouchable. When you start believing your own lies. We got too comfortable. Too confident that Uriel would never figure it out. Until she did. It started with small things. The way she looked at us just a second too long. The tone she used when she asked where I had been or why Coleman was not in bed yet. She never accused us directly, but I felt the shift. The air was different. The worst part? Some twisted part of me wanted her to find out. I wanted her perfect little world to shatter. I wanted to prove she did not know everything. That she did not control every situation she walked into. But when the moment finally came, it hit me harder than I ever thought it would. It was a Thursday evening. Rain was hitting the windows and the house smelled like rosemary chicken, one of Uriel's best dishes. She seemed unusually happy, laughing at something on her phone while Coleman poured wine. I sat across the table acting like everything was normal while my heart raced. Then she said it. "So, Chelsea," she began casually, swirling her glass. "How long have you been sleeping with my husband?" The room went silent. I froze. Coleman went stiff. "I asked you a question," she said calmly but with danger in her voice, her eyes locked on mine. "Should I repeat it?" I swallowed hard. I do not know what you're talking about." Uriel laughed. It was cold and empty. "You think I am blind? The looks. The little touches. You too think I am stupid." Coleman stood up. "Uriel, calm down." "Do not tell me to calm down," she snapped, rising from her seat. She turned to me. "I took you in. I gave you everything. And this is how you repay me." My voice shook. It was not supposed to happen. But it did. She cut me off. "You both made sure of that." Her face cracked then. Not with tears, but something worse. Betrayal. Pain so deep it looked like pure rage. She turned to Coleman. "I gave you everything too. My love. My trust. My daughter." The room fell silent. The weight of what we had done filled the space like thick smoke. Uriel stormed out and slammed the bedroom door. The sound echoed like a final judgment. Coleman did not go after her. He just stood there frozen, like if he stayed still long enough, everything might reset. "What do we do now?" I whispered. He looked at me with empty eyes. "I do not know." The next few days were a blur. Uriel stopped talking to both of us. The house felt haunted, cold. Every time I passed her in the hallway, her silence cut deeper than any words could. Coleman tried to fix things, but there was nothing left to fix. "You need to leave," Uriel finally told me one morning without even looking up from her coffee. "I will pay for your apartment, your school, whatever you need, but you cannot stay here." I wanted to fight back. I wanted to yell that it was not all my fault, that she never really saw me, that she never made space for me in her perfect little world. But none of that would undo what I had done. So I packed my things. Coleman did not say much. We shared one last look, eyes meeting across the room. No touch. No words. Just a silent goodbye that burned. I moved into a small apartment near campus.
Quiet. Clean.
Empty. Sometimes I lie awake wondering what would have happened if I had said no, if I had stopped things before they ever started. But then I remember how alive I felt, how wanted. And I do not know if I truly regret it. Not completely. Uriel never forgave me. I do not blame her. Coleman tried to reach out once. A message on my birthday. I deleted it without reading. There is a scar now, one that will never fully heal. But I live with it, because that is the thing about betrayal. It does not ask for permission. It does not wait for the right time. It just happens. And when everything finally falls apart, you are left standing in the dark, wondering if any of it was ever really yours.